Hello, and thank you for listening to the podcast. We appreciate it, and we appreciate a lot of help from a lot of people all throughout this journey. So we've got a couple of shout-outs we're going to make here. The first shout-out being to Beck Sutton, the graphics designer who is designing our logo. She is the creator and owner of Primal Studios, which can be found on Facebook. Or if you go to primalst.com, you'll be able to find her work there, and she is fantastic at what she does.
Yeah, and the second shout out we'd like to make is to Andrew Stanton, composer of the song Escape the Oppression, which is the kick-ass song for our intro. We love the song, we love the dude. You can check out more of his stuff on soundstripe.com, where there's plenty of songs by plenty of other artists as well, where you can license for podcasts. So go check it out and see what's on there and see what you can use.
Stay frosty. Hello and welcome to the songs that made us, the pod that loves to declare, I love COVID. Here, I'm Jake Hughes, here with me, Connor Reed, as per usual, my co-host and my hetero life partner. Some would say the J to my silent Bob. I would disagree on that. I'm not silent, nor am I called Bob. But aside from that, it's the same dynamic.
I love how, have you not got any like comparison, or am I just straight J? Am I exactly like J, or?
Well, if you can give me like a snooch to the nooch, I'll be happy.
Nah, we're good, man. Also, sure? we don't love COVID, but
our last guest did.
But our last guest did for legitimate reasons. She doesn't love.
She loves the death.
She made a good point, and I don't want to. But I'm not endorsing COVID. I will not be an advertisement saying COVID is a great thing.
I'm going to be like a Southern States American. I'm just going to walk around with my mask down, or with no mask. It's all pack of lies.
I tell you what, actually, I have had that. Sorry, this is already going off on a massive tangent, but in my local area, I've already had a couple backward chats. My local person who works in the shop believes it's a made-up conspiracy made by the Russians. So there's that.
Despite it coming out of China.
Why is it always...
Everyone hates the Russians, apparently. They want to blame them for everything.
Yeah.
With us today, before we go on to too much of a tangent, is Jack Cookson. How you doing, Jack?
Good, thank you. I just wanted to ask quickly, are you getting delay from hearing my audio?
No, you'll come through perfect.
Oh, because you have headphones on, so that'd be fine. Yeah, anyway, technical aside. Yeah, all good. How are you?
We're all right. We're tired after a long day.
Yeah, all good.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, we haven't spoken in years, have we, really? Not like face to... Well, not since you were in Bristol that time.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely haven't seen you in so long. I think what would we have been seeing Billy Talent? Would that have been it? Or
yeah,
that would have been 2012.
Yeah,
and we met up in Wetherspoons. It would have been after 2012. I wasn't living there then, but 2014. Did you go up for any gigs?
Potentially. We've seen a bunch in Bristol, haven't we? That's the thing.
Yeah,
so it's hard to narrow down.
Yeah. It could have been the Cribs.
Yeah, was it me, you, and Chris?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah,
that'll be the Cribs then. So yeah, that was on their tour for All My Sisters, I believe. So 2015.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, man, it's been some time. How have you been? What have you been up to?
Just well, I moved back from Bristol to Plymouth and just been doing music, but now I'm training to be an electrician. So
oh wow,
music's on the back burner.
Yeah.
But it's I mean, I still do it. I love it, but I just wanted to have a bit more stability. So learning trade is great for that. It's just getting an apprenticeship now. That's the hard thing.
Fair, man, fair. Yeah, it can be a graft sometimes, isn't it? Or a lot of walls in your way.
Yeah.
Sort of
music especially for that. I just didn't want to lose the love for it by making it a job. Getting to that point. So just want to keep it fun because it's got to be fun. Otherwise, it's just
Well, you always want to feel that it's your hobby.
Yeah. Well, say that again, Jake. Sorry.
Well, you always want to feel that it's your hobby rather than a vocation.
Yeah. Even if you are earning money from it, like it's a bit of both. You got to keep the love.
Yeah, and if it is a hobby and you earn money, it's more novel. Then it's like, oh, I'm getting money for my hobby.
Yeah. How lucky am I?
Yeah. Very fortunate place to be in that. But I ain't earned money from music in a while now because of COVID.
Oh man, it's been a pain.
Yeah, last thing. I assume you still got your albums and stuff on sale. Or on sale.
Well, I don't really make much in the way of online sales or online streams for that. I mean, the most lucrative thing in lockdown has been live streaming, like live, because people would
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, man, yeah.
Nay, like you donated, Jake. Thanks for that.
I did.
Yeah.
See? That was purely because you messed up the song. I felt bad for you.
Like money. But, that was all right. And then, I mean, there was some help musicians funds as well, and I managed to get a bit of money from that.
Oh, nice.
That just felt like a real severance package, really.
Yeah, it's like being paid redundancy.
The last bit of money you're making for a while, mate, because there's going to be no hit.
Well, it doesn't help. There's no government funding properly for the arts either, so you can't really expect any help from up above.
No,
yeah, man.
Like the Arts Council is like probably the most government related, and that's all like lottery money or like just money that I think has been sat around for years. The bank accounts of rich artistic aristocrats.
Yeah.
Who just like to think that they're helping out the little people, I suppose, and can't complain. I don't know. That's just a theory of mine. That's where.
No, I get you, man. Okay, it doesn't help as well.
Technical difficulties. Oh God! One day you'll get proper microphones. It's cool. The recording's still saved, which is the main thing.
Oh, right, no way.
The last few minutes. So there'll be a bit of a jump when we go from topic to topic.
Well, yeah, no. I'll just pick up then. So as I was sort of saying is it doesn't help as well that we've the arts have been, and I'm not bitter because of course I do understand there's a lot of horrible stuff going on at the moment, and there are a lot of really, really important things that money is going to and everything, but it doesn't help as well that I think even publicly it's the arts have been voted the least important sort of career to have or thing to have, which I'm in two minds about, because I get where people are coming from when they say that, because of course on a practical sense your health, your food, and those people giving you that health and providing that food and those jobs and stability, I get it. On a practical sense, the arts don't necessarily do anything impactful. However, what's everyone doing while they're locked in their house? I mean, try living a day where you don't listen to music, watch any TV, listen to any radio, or watch any films. Of course they're important.
I would also think it has a massive impact on mental health as well.
Completely.
If you can't go out and do the thing that you love, you're going to be struggling.
Yeah, completely. And it's all communal stuff, isn't it? It's how people, whether you're the one performing or creating, or whether you're the person enjoying, you do it together with a community, and that's what's suffering a lot at the moment. I think there's a lot of people that are going to be scared to socialize after this, I think.
Yeah.
Sure, it's going to be weird. Yeah, it's going to be super weird.
Well, it's going to make gigs weird, isn't it?
It's going to. I think I was just saying to my mate earlier that it's going to give people a real good excuse to not come to your gigs, because they'll be like, I'm still like, they didn't want to come anyway. People did, but like, I really feel like some people come out of obligation, and fair enough. But like, they're going to be able to go now. Oh, I don't want to come because I'm still worried about COVID. Like, can't argue with that.
Well, and it's also people will get really into just staying indoors. I mean, I bet you there's been more World of Warcraft accounts started up now than there ever has been in a short period of time. And now everyone's going to go home from their jobs and be like, well, I've got another job in World of Warcraft. I've got cows to milk. Is that what they do in that game?
Yeah, RuneScape again.
RuneScape, that's still going. I've actually got a friend.
Still going?
Mate, I've got a friend who's obsessed with RuneScape. Always has been for as long as I've known her. And she's something like a billionaire. She's like famous in the game.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And she's been playing it for 11 years consistently.
Oh,
mental, right?
does she have like a life aside from RuneScape? From the
Yeah, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. Like, she's a perfectly sociable, lovely. Like, we always go to the pub. We drink. I don't even know where she finds time, but apparently she logs on every single day.
Wow.
And she's got this. I find it creepy, man. She has this whole secret life.
Wow. I suppose she's just made it as sort of a, you know, how you might just pick, like, we pick up our instruments and just have a little go on, like, and that people might think, oh, how did you get so good at that? And we're like, well, put in a lot of time early in life.
Yeah, fair.
To stay at that level, and I suppose you can be like that with an online game as well.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
Well,
whatever floats your boat.
We play the instruments. She's a level 125 warlock. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's probably better at casting spells than I am at plucking a guitar. So.
Well, I think what we're going to do is let's start with the album pick. The album you've picked is an album that it's safe to say all three of us probably love massively. It's definitely an album that's made an impact on all of our lives.
Yeah.
Massively. The 59 Sound by the Gaslight Anthem, released in 2008. Now I imagine we all got into it around a similar sort of time as well.
Well, I think it would have been oh, sorry, creaky door. Sorry, bear with me, guys. No, I haven't yet. I haven't had time. Sorry.
That's cool.
There's going to be some editing in this podcast.
You can just put yourself on mute, mate.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think it was actually you, Jack, that introduced me to Gaslight Anthem.
Right. Yeah.
Back in the day, you introduced me to them and Gaslight and Alkaline Trio, I think, about the same time.
Yeah. Oh, and that would have been in like 2011, 2012.
It was around about that time because I found him on Spotify randomly. I think Drive from Sink or Swim.
Yeah.
On Spotify. I listened to that sort of 2009, 2010ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously 59 Sound came a little bit after that when I started getting into it more. I was like, holy shit.
Like that was like the album's quite funny because it is such a departure sound wise, I think, from Sink or Swim. But like they still had all the energy, but it was just produced so differently. I think that was the thing that really drew me to 59 Sound. It's just like it's so heavy, but it's actually quite clean. Like the guitars aren't majorly distorted like on Sink or Swim. And then American Slang afterwards was like even cleaner in some ways. But like yeah, that was it's quite unique about it, I think. Very clean but driving and
yeah, and it's definitely in it's the music itself is very clean, but I think he gets it. He puts these effects on his vocals quite a bit that make it have this kind of I don't know, dirtier sound to it, or more vintage sound, which is really, really lovely.
Yeah, for sure. Like Ted Hurt produced it, I think, and he was like, I think Ted Hurt is like Brian Fallon's songs are, when they're in the hands of Ted Hurt, they're like safe, I think. Though Brian Fallon's new album done with Peter Cases is amazing as well, but like Ted Hurt's got like he's done loads of good punk, and I think the vision for the 59 Sound, that's just set a standard, and so many people have tried to imitate it, I think.
Yeah,
with this vocal sound and stuff. I've definitely tried to imitate it.
Well, going back with the guitar lines for a minute, it's the lead guitar parts which are the cleanest on the entire album. So the rhythm's always distorted in the background, but the lead guitar parts are always sort of arpeggio riffs in the background for the most part.
Jazzmaster parts, I think a lot of them. Yeah.
It's just got that clean sound, which is always it complements everything else that's going on.
Yeah, I found with that guitar tone that I really missed it on later Gaslight albums. Like the tone just went distorted after that. Like just
they definitely went a bit more harder. Well, I suppose with American Slang, I find it a bit more bluesy. They have a bit more of that in there, and then after that, it goes a bit more hard rock.
Yeah, handwritten definitely was.
Yeah.
But that jingly jangly Jazzmaster tone from on the Sound is just like, oh man, I just would love to get a Jazzmaster just to try and imitate the sounds on that. Sorry, go on.
No, carry on.
I was just going to say, it's like, it reminds me of some of the sort of staccato-y, flat wound string sounds you get from guitars in soul music, and there's loads of stuff about the 59 sound being like a soul influence punk album.
Oh, completely, yeah.
It comes through in that, like the kind of like, I can't think of any good examples, but just 60s soul records have that nice, clean, like, just a flat wound string sound on the electric guitar. And then like Gaslight took that and made it more punky, but still clean.
Yeah. It definitely feels like they went for like a vintage sound with more punky or harder rock and roll. And like you do get this like sort of, I don't know, like maybe, I don't know, I get images when I listen to it, and you get images of like the bars that like Bob Dylan or something would play in back in the day in New York, or like I don't know if I've made this up, but I feel like it is true, but I feel like they've got a lot of Bruce Springsteen influence as well. Yeah,
that Americana nostalgia in the lyrics, that's kind of what I think, that's what kind of made me fall in love with it as well. Obviously the music's like awesome, but like the people love the imagery in the songs. I think it's the same reason people like Springsteen or like the Hold Steady or Bob Dylan, you know, going back to that, like stories and images. It's
I think Brian Fallon's one of my favorite songwriters. I think his lyrics are amazing. Like he tells a story so well.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, it definitely goes on with the Springsteen thing, the theme of Springsteen rather, where you listen to sort of like Thunder Road and the way his lyrics flow in that. You compare that to then you've got film noir and things like that where it's all story based. But I've always wondered though how much of that Bruce Springsteen comparison, because they did get a lot of that when they did start becoming bigger. How much of that was just because they're from New Jersey?
Yeah, it could be that sound. Yeah,
it's like I think as well that they played. He played with them at Glastonbury. He just surprised them, didn't he? And then he went and sang with Bruce when he played.
No Surrender, wasn't it?
Yeah, and so they were like, oh, same band. And I think there are some Springsteen songs that are like, oh, that's so Gaslight. Like I'm going down off Born in the USA. Like but really they are quite different, I think.
Yeah, completely. I think like, I mean, they wear their influences on their sleeve, and you can tell it's an influence, but it doesn't make it sound exactly the same. I mean, well, on this album especially, actually, if you just look at the names of the tracks, you can tell where they get their sounds from, and like, I mean, here's Looking at You, Kid. That's a line from Casablanca, so you know they're going for that old school, almost noir, but that song itself isn't necessarily like that, but it follows the same themes as that film. And then you got like, all of the songs just like 59 sound, obviously harking back to that vintage sound. Great Expectations is a Dickens novel, and it's very much about a story, and like obviously, you can tell he wears on his sleeve where he gets his influences from, but you can also hear in the music that he brings himself to it and creates his own really great sound out of them.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a whole bunch of references to Miles Davis as well throughout both the Miles Davis and the Cool and through other lyrics on the album as well.
Yeah.
I think they were listening to a lot of soul. I think I remember reading that somewhere when they were like maybe just jamming the songs. They were listening to lots of soul. And that going back to like the guitar tone, it comes full circle, like lyrics and music.
Yeah.
It's just very 60s influenced.
Yeah.
Like, I think the drums make it punk, really. The
drums do. They've got this like nice, upbeat, quick sort of snappy feel to them that and they're so cool. And then also I'd say like his voice as well, because Brian Fallon's got an amazing voice, and it's so gruff and it is so soulful. Like you could definitely hear it if he was to do some soul songs and like just straightforward, just be a solo singer in that genre. It would blow people's minds, and I think that separates them as well. He's got this just this tone that just makes them really unique.
Yeah. Have you listened to Sleepwalkers, his solo album?
No, I've never listened to any of his solo stuff, unfortunately. I know I should, because I am a big fan, but
it's just what you described. Like,
right.
I mean, it's not complete soul, because that would be, I think, kind of a bit too much for a white guy to do, really. But like, he like Sleepwalkers. Oh, it's just like it's also produced by Ted Hutt, who did 59 Sound and American Slang, and so it's like hearing that 10 years later, but it's still with a full band, but it's not Gaslight. It's got Ian Perkins, their guitar tech, who joined Gaslight later on, but he playing the lead lines. But oh man, yeah, his voice shines on that. It's like,
oh man,
not just like, I mean, the slapback echo on 59 sounds awesome, but it kind of masks his voice a bit, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been because back then maybe he wasn't as confident, but then the later stuff, he's like just force of nature with his singing.
Well, I always love that with handwritten for his vocals.
Yeah.
When you listen to like Keepsake or Too Much Blood, Keepsake in particular.
Yeah.
But it is present on this album as well. You got Ethan Cowgirls Get the Blues, like where he goes into the second chorus.
Yeah, like proper.
That's always.
That song is I really like that song, but I always skipped it for some reason. But then now, if I was to listen to the album, I would definitely listen to it.
I think your sensibilities changed with the album. Like when I first started listening to it, I was like, I was very angsty, so I loved oh Jesus, the song's left my head. Here's Looking at You, Kid. So I was just very much like, yeah, this is such a deep, sad song, but it's great, which it is. But definitely, I would flow more towards that, and then I would also flow quite a bit towards like the first two tracks, which are just big, and like great sound. But then, yeah, as time's gone on, and I've carried on listening to the album, I definitely go in for those ones that you were more likely to skip because they're not necessarily as upbeat, or they're not necessarily as like traditional, I suppose, in terms of rock songs.
Yeah, that's a really. I've got a funny like an idea of what you were saying just then about what you would listen to when you're younger and the angst. Like a big thing about the Gaslight Anthem for me was that it like was though I loved the sound of the music, and as a musician I loved how the songs were written. There's also like an identity thing up with it. Like I like identified with the fact I liked rock and punk music.
Yeah.
And that was very strong for me for many years. And so maybe I would listen more to the more punky, rocky ones because I thought subconsciously it bolstered my idea of myself. Like
completely, yeah.
But like now that I'm less identified with, say, the music I listen to, I mean, it's still an important part of me, but I feel just more like I'm just a guy who likes stuff rather than I am like, I don't know, I am a fan of this band.
Yeah.
Now I'd be like more inclined to just check out.
Oh, completely. Like I think like I'm the same. Like I used to definitely associate myself with certain genres of music, and I'd be like, well, there's no way I'd ever listen to that crap because it's not what I listen to. And as time's gone up, now I listen to pretty much everything. Like if you had said to me, like 5 or 6 years ago that 25-year-old you would love Harry Styles. I'd be like, no, I'm not liking that guy from One Direction. But nowadays, like I like his modern music and I like his songwriting, and I think that comes back to the albums you used to listen to. The songs you skipped because they weren't as hard as what you liked then.
Yeah.
Suddenly you appreciate them a lot more.
I never thought I'd be a big funk fan.
Yeah, there you go.
Parliament, I love them. We're standing on the verge of getting it on.
You have to love funk, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, I do nowadays, yeah.
Yeah, oh man, funk bass lines, you can really get your teeth into them, can't you?
Well, I think that's what grew the appreciation is as I started playing more and more Chili Peppers, especially, and then going like, oh, where's their influences from? Okay, I'll go back and play this, or I'll go play Maggot Brain or something, try it that way. But it's, definitely when we're younger, I think we can also say the angst, we wanted to be playing pulsating songs, we didn't want to be playing slow stuff as much.
But then when you go back to, like, especially on this album, when you go back to that stuff now, I think that stuff's better. I mean, this album has so much confidence that they have loads of confidence in what they're able to do with their instruments. That when you go back to songs like even Cowgirls Get the Blues, I would have definitely skipped that back in the day. But now I'm listening to it and like, they've just got so much confidence to take it real slow and just mess around on that bass and with that guitar, and it all fits so well.
Yeah, Yeah, they pronounced it the oddball song of the album, and it's good to have a song that stands out. But I think like that sort of shows that they were worried what fans would think. So like we'll justify it by calling it the oddball song, you know.
Yeah, completely.
But well, I think that goes to show you where they were, because that's what their second actual album is next, and You're in the Queen is EP. So yeah, I think any young band is like that. You sort of go, well, we've got to stick to our identity.
Yeah, you don't want to betray the fans that you've just accumulated, because they might be scared you might lose them because you didn't have them.
Yeah.
You know, God, I'm worrying about that now with my own music. Like the song I'm working on at the moment, it's not very folky, and I've got some like a little pocket of people who like my stuff because it's folky, and I'm like, oh well, sod it, you're not getting folk anymore.
Yeah,
well, that's it. At least you've got the option of you do have folk songs in your back pocket that you can go to if needs be.
Yeah, they can put up with the other stuff in the meantime. But,
yeah, but at the end of the day, if you've got stuff that you want to make, you've got to make it. And I think that's what they're doing. Like, yeah, they're gonna hold up their hands after and be like, well, that's the oddball song. But obviously, it's stuff that they just really wanted to do and they wanted to make a risk with. And I think it's great, man. I think it's that stuff now I appreciate more on the album. The stuff where it's just out of left field or it's completely different.
Yeah. Funny. Like a funny one though is my friend Chris. He isn't like, he didn't have a background in like punk and rock music, but he really likes Gaslight. He does all sorts of stuff. He's a guitarist, but he was like, he got into that album driving. He's like, oh, I love this album, but I really don't like Miles Davis and the Cool.
Right.
Funny because that he really likes key changes and weird timings, and that song has that weird key change bit, and then the chromatic bit, and he just didn't like it. And it was interesting that, I don't know, I think to him maybe that just sounded like a messy attempt at trying to be a bit odd with the harmony.
Right. I get you.
He's got an idea of how songs should do key changes because he's really good at them, and he likes, you know, like Steely Dan and the beat, like the more weird stuff of the Beatles and stuff. Yeah, like I think Even Cowgirls Get the Blues. Like, no, not Even Cowgirls Get the Blues. Like that song now fits in, but Miles Davis and the Cool stands out for me now.
Really?
Kind of because of what he said. I respect his opinion, but Miles Davis, it's just like, it seems like two songs stuck together. And then weird rising chromatic power chord section.
Well, I think I think they were definitely probably trying stuff out, because like when it gets to the next album with American Slang, it's so like cohesive and it's so clear what they're going for. Yeah. And like they build a whole song around it. But with this, there's definitely some moments where they're switching up, maybe for the sake of switching up. I don't know. I wasn't there when they made the songs. Yeah, but if it sounds like that, but it for me it works, and I think for some people it either will or it won't. Yeah,
for sure. What's funny is because I loved that song when I was younger, but now I've like let the power of suggestion ruin it for me.
Yeah, but what's interesting is like what you said though. Your friend wasn't into like punk or that style of music at all, but he loves Gaslight, and I think for me they're a really accessible band. I think most people, if they gave them a go, would love Gaslight, and I think it's quite criminal that they're really unknown. I think, especially where we live, not many people know about them at all.
It's they're like, I don't know. I think now Brian Fallon might be famouser than Gaslight. Like, that stuff.
Yeah,
he's done a band.
He's done a lot of stuff since though, hasn't he? That's the thing. So like, he's constantly still getting his name out there, whereas the rest of the band don't really hear from.
And he's very, very respected, which he should be. But I mean, the whole band should be. Yeah, they're an excellent band.
Yeah. One thing that's funny though, like I watched a video of them playing in this venue in Florida, I think it was, in 2008, and like the energy is like flipping. It's like my computer was going to explode. It wasn't really. Like, wow. I was just like, I wish I'd been at this gig. But the way you could tell they were having such a good time is because Alex Rosamilia, the lead guitarist, he was like moving, And if you watch like live videos of them, like the last,
he's like a statue.
Yeah, just like this, I think he really didn't like how famous they got. That's just an idea, but he's moving and going mental.
Yeah, well, it definitely feels like they were, especially like in their first two albums, they were purposely playing to a focused audience. They didn't really. I don't think they're going for anything mainstream here. Like, I don't think they ever necessarily were back then. And then maybe that changed. I do think Handwritten definitely. I love that album, but it definitely feels like that was an album made to widen their audience.
To go on the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, American Slang went a different way, didn't it? Because it was more, I'd argue, more niche overall in terms of like what they're playing and the style they're playing, which is probably why I wasn't a big fan of that album.
Yeah, it's a really unique album, that one. Like you said, Connor, it's bluesy.
Yeah.
And it just, I think if they'd maybe not signed to a major label and not gone with Brendan O'Brien on Handwritten, because he did like Pearl Jam records and he did Springsteen records as well. And I think he kind of just maybe gave them stuck a load of his presets on.
Yeah, because it does sound like that when you just mentioned Pearl Jam then, and it has that sound. And when I first, I hate myself now for thinking it. When I first heard a song from Handwritten, I accidentally mistook it once for a Nickelback song. Genuinely, and know
what you mean, though.
But it's because of mostly what they've done with the production of the guitar. It sounds
more filled in.
Yeah, it's very like a beefy, like rock guitar. Yeah.
Yeah, I dread to be like, dread to be the mixer of that album, because I don't think Brendan O'Brien mixed it, but he produced it. But like, project would probably be like this much just of like Brian Fallon's guitar, like
track
after track.
Yeah, just of the same chord or something, like because it's so huge.
Would you reckon that was their Stadium album?
Yeah. And then,
which I don't blame them.
But I think, I don't know. I think I've always, especially nowadays, I'm more into that experimental stuff. So I always go back and forth between this album and American Slang as to which one I prefer more.
Which one? Sorry.
59 Sound and American Slang.
The gold, you might say.
Yeah, I feel like they're very different albums. They're insanely different albums. And then, this one's way more. This one's more rock, I'd say, and then the other one is it goes a bit more bluesy, and it's a softer album, maybe.
It is, yeah.
But I love them both so much, though. But yeah, I like how versatile they are, because I do think they keep their sound, but they manipulate it in a very different way.
I'd love to know how much of it was like down to the producer, because they were both produced by Ted Hutt, 59 Sound, American Slang, I believe. But yeah, like you say, they're just completely different albums. And I don't know, I think, would you say that American Slang sounds slightly more live than the 59 Sound? Or is it the other way around? I don't know, because
I think I get where you're coming from. I feel like it's more. I don't know. I think it's a theme. It's a theming sort of thing. I think this album I can imagine playing it in a punk sort of setting. You play this at a small club or bar, and then but American Slang, I always imagine it with music videos and stuff. It's like it's
cinematic.
It's cinematic. Yeah, that's the one. And I think they do really interesting stuff with their genres in general in American Slang, where you go for is it Diamond Church Choir?
Diamond Church Street Choir. Yeah,
Diamond Church Street Choir, which is a very Springsteen-y song, and I've always thought. But it's a lot more. It's a very communal song. Like you can imagine a couple people dancing to that song, and it's much more like that, and
like it's being played live in a community centre.
Yeah, kind of. But I feel like there's a few of their songs there that in that album that are a lot more chanty. They're a lot more for audiences to sing along to and chill out to, which I like. But then this album's much more. You would watch them play this album, and this album's a lot more personal.
Yeah, I agree. American slang always like gave me the feeling of being outside. Like it sounded like it was outside. If that makes sense, like in a
completely.
City.
That's what I was getting at. I feel like it's like a outside in the summer sort of album, whereas this is like indoors in the winter sort of album.
Yeah. Oh, you could put a seasonal. Yeah, categorizing songs or albums into seasons is probably quite a good like way to if you want to compartmentize them. And I know music shouldn't really be compartmentized too much. But, yeah. And then like handwritten sounds like a stadium, like you said, Jay.
Yeah.
And, Get Her, I don't even fucking know.
Yeah, I don't know what happened on that album. I got it like on release, listened to it once and went,
It's a bit of a Frankenstein like of ideas. I think they rushed it.
Yeah, fair. I've only listened to that one a few times. I feel like they sound tired on the album, but
yeah, I think you.
And it may go into the fact that like what you said, the guitarists have stopped moving and they're a bit over it, maybe, or they're just not as young. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there was some of that, and I don't know how much it was to blame, but having a major label saying, "Oh, you've got to do 2 albums on this contract," and we haven't got anything left. My recording thing. Oh, it's still going. I think I remember hearing an interview sometime, and with Brian Fallon, and they just literally had hit a wall with Get Her, and they took it. And then they did that 59 Sound reunion tour, and I saw them at Hammersmith Apollo playing, and it was like I'd seen them around the time Get Her had come out, and they were like a different band. You know, they'd had a good long break, and they'd come back really energized, not quite as energized as they could when they were young.
They weren't going to quite blow up your computer screen, but they definitely light it up.
yeah, exactly.
I saw them in Brixton on the handwritten tour.
Yeah,
that was.
What did you reckon?
I liked it at the time.
Yeah,
it was hard to say because it wasn't. I don't know. I just don't like the Brixton OT that much, so it's sort of a weird venue for me. And we're seated as well, so it all just felt odd. I always prefer being in that really small, like Bristol O2 venue.
I know what you mean. At Hammersmith, I felt like I should have been sat down. It was really strange because, like,
oh really?
The venue's a bit weird. Have you ever been in the Hammersmith Apollo?
No, I've never. No.
It's like it just doesn't seem like it's built for loud bands. There's something about it, and I think it may just be the fact that they don't turn them up enough. And
really?
I remember seeing Gaslight for the first time in Hamburg, and it was like massive, and there was mosh pits, and we were singing along, and we couldn't hear our own voices singing along.
Yeah.
And like when everyone was singing like the 59 Sound in Hammersmith, all I could hear was the fucking drunk guys around me.
I wonder how much of that is because the Hammersmith is more used to doing comedy gigs now than it is music gigs.
Yeah, probably. Like the sound guys were like, I need to make this as clear as possible.
Yeah, and it looks from what I've seen on TV and stuff, it looks more like a theatre anyway than whereas when you go to like Bristol O2, that's like it's almost a dive. It's so close to being a dive venue. And and it's the sound's cranked up and it's so intimate as well because you're so close to them, and even when you're raised up, you're so close to the stage.
Well, we noticed that with Anti-Flag, didn't we? Not Anti-Flag. Who was it we saw? Libertines.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were on the balcony off to the sort of left-hand side, but you're still right on top of the stage.
Yeah. It must be quite scary for the bands playing. You know, just like
maybe
bottled really easily.
Well, I think what we saw was a lot of underwear being flung at Pete Doherty.
yeah, of course.
Like a projectile.
In their Peaky Blinders gear that they decided to come out in.
Was it around the time of Peaky Blinders being in vogue?
I think it was December.
Yeah, no, but I mean, Peaky Blinders is still in vogue. The second the new season gets announced, that everyone's like, "Whoa!" It's a good show, so I don't blame them. But it also kind of epitomizes everything the Libertines sort of stand for as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's that image of Albion, isn't it? That
Yeah.
style. Britain.
Oh, fair. I'm from Birmingham and I've never watched it. I mean,
What, Peaky Blinders?
yeah.
It's a good show. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. It is very a show trying to be as cool as it can possibly be, and
Right.
it's like British rock and roll cool as well. So you get slow motion people in their old school garb, move into like an Arctic Monkeys song,
Yeah.
which it is a lot of that. A lot of it feels like a music video, but it's still like got great story and great acting in it. So I'd recommend it.
Sounds good that they can balance both those elements, because sometimes it's
on the edge. It is on the edge.
Yeah. Oh, rad.
I mean, I suppose they've got to put those things in there to distract from Cillian Murphy's disturbing face.
I think he's a handsome man.
Is he?
Oh, you're not going to start on Cillian Murphy now, are you? First Tom Morello, and then fucking...
It was Harry who started on David Bowie. That wasn't me.
That was true, yeah. We're just starting gripes with all of these people. Jack, who do you hate?
Famous. I thought of somebody recently, and I can't remember who it is now. I mean,
that's not a proper hate, then, is it? That's just a mild loathing.
That's a slight inconvenience.
I hate I don't know. I really don't know. I hate.
We're really putting you on the spot. You don't have to answer.
I hate divisive people, like divisive people that I suppose I'd say I hate Piers Morgan, but I don't know if I hate Piers Morgan, because I like how he can tackle a really difficult issue, and he's very he can call people out on their shit, but he has said some pretty abhorrent things as well.
He's made a weird face turn of late.
Sorry?
He's made a weird face turn of late, so rather than him being like, well, we'll support Trump, we'll do the interview with Trump and that, he's now, well, fuck you, the government needs to be working hard against COVID and all that kind of stuff. He's made this weird sort of like mid-career change.
The issue I have with him is, like, especially at the moment, more specifically at the moment, because I don't agree with a lot of the shit he did in the past, but at the moment I agree with what he stands for in terms of calling the government out on their shit. And he wants to get them out on the government. My issue with him is I just don't think he's that good at his job. He'll ask someone a provocative question and then he won't let them answer, and then he'll talk over them, and that pisses me off. I'm like, well, let the person actually say what they're going to say, then slate them.
Yeah, I think he needs to be. He should start a podcast. Really.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. He might have. I haven't done enough research. But...
well, I think what he does is essentially a podcast, in my opinion. Like, it is just him, but pretty much.
Is it all just crammed into a short space of time because it's on whatever show he's on?
It's this morning. Good Morning Britain. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice big chunk of time, and he talks about a lot of shit in that time. And it's annoying as well because, like, at the moment, at least, with a lot of the stuff he's saying, I agree with, and I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, you should be calling out. And it is stupid that the government has sort of banned, like, none of the Conservative government will go on his show. No one will agree to an appearance on there.
Right.
Because they know where his stance is and they know how aggressive he can be, which I do like. He's not afraid. He does pinpoint issues really well, and he's not afraid to ask those questions. My issue with it is that he'll go, so why haven't you done this? And they go, well, and then he goes, because this, and you go, oh, well, if you let me say, and they go, well, I don't give a shit about what you have to say, just do it. And you're like, well, that's not really an argument or a debate. You've just yelled at them.
The irony being, he would have been a really good Conservative politician. Like, he's got that slipperiness about him.
Man, I just I've been looking more into politics more than ever in my life, and I don't know. I just want to know how much control politicians even have, because there's always that idea that they're puppets, isn't there? And the real people who call the shots are the people that are funding them. But why isn't there any? You'd think they would say something about that, like the left would say something about, say, how much funding the Conservatives get, because they're obviously the richer party, you know.
I think it depends who you read or who you listen to, because I'm probably going to get her name wrong now. A journalist, Caroline Cadwallader. She does a lot on that. I can't remember I think it was Matt Hancock, who's the MP for a place which is funded massively by horse racing. I can't remember what the place is called now. But they had a lot of donations, and that was one of the first things opened up before the lockdown.
Yeah. Right. So I think that the issue is because people do, and especially like musicians and famous actors and actresses and stuff, they'll call out this stuff. But the issue comes is one, the average public doesn't give a shit about economy and stuff. They just care whether it's good or bad. Because it's hard to understand. It's all a Kafka sort of system where everything is like purposely mental, that it's impossible to understand. Also, the other thing is the media won't cover it because the media are owned by those big rich people. Yeah. I mean, like, so one of the things I heard someone talk about recently, I can't remember what, I think it was on a Joe Rogan podcast or something like that. But it's the fact that this crisis is like a prime opportunity for rich bastards to get a lot richer, or move money around with no one noticing because they're so distracted by COVID. And of course, you need to do a lot of coverage on COVID. It's important for people to know, but we also need to be knowing a lot about and paying attention to where all this money's going and who it's going to, because once we get out of this, we may find that certain people got certain amounts of money that is really dangerous and it's too late to stop it, sort of thing. And that's not a conspiracy theory thing. That's just genuinely how economy works. Money gets shifted around.
I think we're also blinded though, because I think in Britain especially, we view America like a soap opera, so we consume what's happening with them more so rather than being introspective on what's happening in the UK. So we look at America and go, well, they got the PAC and super PAC systems where the financing is so clear and so abhorrent that you look at it and go, well, how can this be justified? So we don't look at what's happening with our own politicians.
Yeah. Also, you got to take time frame into account, because my example that I keep getting into interesting discussions with my dad is that it's seen as a very, very positive thing at the moment that the banks have bailed out the British government. And in a lot of ways it is, because we didn't have much of a choice. And yeah, it helps people out short term. Like people think about what helps us out now. And yeah, that really helps us out now. The problem is it's hard to think about that 5 years in the future. We do have to slowly pay that money back. So taxes have to go up. And even if the economy's good, it's the average person who works and gets by day to daily, like on their paycheck. When their taxes go up, that's going to affect them and it's going to suck. So yeah, everyone has a better quality of life now, but people remember, like, there's never really been a good point in history where governments have owed their banks money.
But it's always that what have you done for me lately syndrome as well, isn't it? With politics.
Yeah. It's what they're doing right now, not the effects on what it could mean in the future, sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh man,
that's a massive tangent from 59 Sound.
Well, I am annoyed though. This is like the perfect opportunity for a punk band to form and take off and reignite like 1977 again.
Yeah,
and no one's done it yet. So
you'll never know though, like, because they're talking about I read something in the Guardian or something, who of course have their own agenda as well. But I read something in the Guardian yesterday that our economy could be in a state that's similar to like the 1980s and everything, where it was really a lot of jobs gone, a lot of people struggling. But in that time period, a lot of massive artistic movements happened. And a lot of music and movements, like the music I love, when you go up to northern England with like the Stone Roses and even the Smiths and everything like that. So all that stuff, the arts could have a massive play in, I don't know, fight or something.
I think what I'm annoyed at then is more that I haven't started the punk band yet.
Yeah, there you go, mate.
So I've yet to become the Sid Vicious, or the new Sid Vicious. So I'll have my amp unplugged on stage to do and just pretend that I'm playing. Yeah, here's my 2,000 quid of gear. Nope, not playing it. Refuse.
I think I recently heard people say explain the definition of the revolution won't be televised. I've always heard that, but actually, like, it reminded me when you said that we're looking at America like it's a soap opera, and like I think there's the governments capitalize on everyone's love of looking at problems everywhere but within themselves.
Right.
And so, like, they want to, like, a revolution of, say, like, protesting and looting in response to the events around Black Lives Matter. Like, that'll be televised, but that's not going to achieve anything as long as the systemic racism is still in place. But, like, if people, like, this can't be televised, and that's when people realize that some of the problems exist in themselves, like, say, ignorance of white privilege. And when they realize that and deal with the uncomfortable truth that they've got some ugly shit within themselves, and it's not just like, say, I don't know, the enemies of the government, essentially, not their enemies. They go like, these people are enemies of the state, like terrorists or even the police. As a left-wing person, hating the police.
Yeah.
Like, if you hate the police and say ACAB, you're just as bad, you know. Like, there's lots of good cops, but there's lots of bad left-wing people as well. And so for me, like, the revolution won't be televised. It means that, like, from this guy explaining it, that the revolution needs to happen in yourself. You need to revolt against your own fucking prejudices. And
well, it's the same idea that people wear makeup to go out. You don't want people to see your actual face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everything starts at a human level, doesn't it? And people are trying to work backwards, where they're trying to change systems to shape people to be different. Whereas you need to work more on shaping the people who want to get into positions where they can make change and change the system.
Yeah, that's where I think the emphasis on education needs to be made. Like, it's all in education. Like my girlfriend's a teacher, and she's just seeing how much can go wrong in, like, formative years. Like, yeah, that's just in secondary school. Like, I mean, like, if people are, like, have a bad upbringing when they're a little kid, that can fuck them up for life, you know, the first 5 years of their life. And so if they're around abuse and racism or whatever, or sexism, like, they just grow up to be like that. But then they could be saved. Like, there's people who've grown up with abusive parents, but they have a great teacher, or they have a great role model who helps them to become a person who thinks of themselves, basically, at the very least. Not a left-wing person, you know, but like a...
Do you want to hear one of the great statements I had to hear from somebody who helped raise me, should we say?
Go on.
So he said to me, I would have been about 6 or 7 at this point. He said to me, "Don't mind if you're gay, just as long as you don't sleep with a black bloke."
Really?
Wow, conflicted guy.
Yeah, so I had to grow up in that sort of, like, thankfully not for long.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a UKipper, should we say, nowadays.
That's so strange.
It's unimaginable what the logic on earth is that could lead to that statement. Like, where does your brain go to go, it makes sense that would be a bad thing, so I need to teach this kid that's a thing.
A kid who at that point doesn't even know what sex is either, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, innit?
That's fucked.
Yeah, my early childhood was rife with those sorts of idiotic statements.
Yeah.
Which I think, don't they?
Yeah, well, I won't blame both of them. It was only the one parent.
Right.
But which I think probably drove me on later into getting into punk, things like that. So I was rebelling against that idea of, oh, right, this is how I'm supposed to believe.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. But the scary thing is, and I think this goes back to what you said, Jack, about, like, education and everything, is that could have gone a very different way.
Yeah.
You know, you could have listened to that and completely agreed with it. And the thing is, ideas like that manifest into other ideas that then, by the time you're the age you are now, you're a fully fledged racist. or someone who just has a really warped idea of what we are as creatures on a ball.
And this would be a different podcast, wouldn't it?
yeah, it would
Welcome
be.
to Jake Hughes' KKK broadcast.
Well, like, it's funny that I think the problem lies in that statement, really, that like people just don't know that they are, like, people don't think enough that they are just animals floating in space on a rock. If people remembered that, they'd be like, oh, well, I'm actually like, it's a privilege to be alive in that way. And, and I'm no better than anyone else, and who am I to say that someone with a different skin color is inferior, you know?
Yeah,
well, and the irony being as well, there was also a ton of homophobic statements when I was younger, so it was a real mixed message.
No, exactly, and it's the idea. It's people just forget that, like, emotions and ideas and ideologies, they're not practical things that do exist. Like, they're all man-made and made up, and they can easily go, like, they can go away, and they don't have any bearing on this planet. Like, there is nothing different about me, who I am, to a black person, or to a Muslim, or to someone who is gay, or anything like that. It just, there are certain layers of ideology that then go onto it that do make practical sense, and then you get beyond them, and they're useless. They're just floating out there. Yeah,
just ideas, literally. Yeah, like the fact that like our, even just our own names, like there's nothing like Jake or Connor or Jack like about our bodies, you know. It's just the name we give ourselves, and then it advances to like, well, I have this political view, or I have this religion.
And there's a point where it's no longer useful. Like, there's a name is useful because then I have a good way of referring to you, or anything like that. But me turning around to you and giving an outlandish idea like aliens made me, or or something crazy, like me turning around and saying that I'm actually in a simulation and all of you don't exist, that doesn't help anyone.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, there's a point where your ideas of what you think doesn't help anyone, so what's the point in having it? Or if you are going to have it, just keep it to yourself.
There's a reason why David Icke hasn't, taken out the government yet, isn't there?
Yeah.
That's, do you think the cure then, obviously education being a big sort of help, is getting people at a younger age understanding and also learning about how to be human essentially with one another? Do you also think then that also, rather than the way debates being handled at the moment, where it's two sides on the far end of the spectrum each shouting at each other across the void, do you think it'd be more helpful for people to sit down and talk?
Oh yeah, they need to like use their strengths together. Division is just united we stand, divided we fall. That
and I think our culture in general is getting more and more divisive, and it's cliquey, and it's people, and that's not just in politics, that's in every aspect. It's people like to stand with symbols or ideas and really hold stuff against them. Like, the big thing that I see, because I'm still very much into politics, but talk to me 2 years ago and I was probably more into politics than I am now. I think I've become a bit more apathetic, but it's because 2 years ago me would have been fully left and I'd hate the right. And I'd be open. I'd openly say, like, oh, it's impossible for anyone who is a conservative to do a good thing, and that's that's a dangerous and toxic ideology to have, because that's the same. That's no different mentally in someone who is racist or in someone like that. It's complete bullshit to think that way, because at the end of the day, anybody is able to do shit things and good things. Like, I don't personally like Boris Johnson. Now I'm much more a centralist, where I do still have some very radical left ideas, but I understand that some of them just don't practically work. And you've got to have a best of both for anything. There's got to be compromise, and people don't want compromise. They want their side to win.
Yeah. Well, it's the idea of having pragmatism rather than idealism.
Well, yeah, it's the idea of democracy. Which,
Well, yeah.
Funny, like, I was looking at some of the things that Boris Johnson is promising post-lockdown. Like, I didn't listen to his whole hour-long speech where he's like slamming the lectern, but I just read some of the summary. And the things that he's saying he wants, they're all like quite socialist-looking things.
yeah, a lot of people have said that critically of him at the moment. They're like, well, debatably during this whole COVID thing, he's been quite a left-wing politician, and
Yeah, because
yeah, that's my point. I think like I take left wing and right wing out of that. I just go, right, he's responded to it how any human being should. And debatably, he's responded to it a bit too late and not necessarily in the best idea.
I think he's not done enough, if we're going to say left wing or whatever. He's not done enough.
Yeah, but then
would really want it on the socialist level.
Yeah, but then equally, like, if we're going to go that way, then you'd go, okay, well, the New Zealand Prime Minister, she's had it fucking nailed and she's had it perfect.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, she's a very liberal person. But the way you could have a strong debate into the way she's handled this is actually not liberal at all, because she put her foot down, didn't let anyone have a say in it. And she just turned around and went, this is what we're doing, like it or leave. And that's it. And like, she was really ruthless on her own decision making, backed up obviously by experts. But at the end of the day, it's worked, and people are praising her completely.
Well, this is one of the weird conversations I was having with a friend the other day. Was like, as much as I sit there and go, well, you know, I want democracy, I strive for sort of more of an egalitarian society where, yeah, we are born flesh and blood, we are all equal. But would I prefer it to be a dictatorship, where a left-wing dictator comes out and says, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it?
Yeah.
It's a weird thing.
Well, I think like the like dictatorship is the wrong word, I suppose.
Well,
but
no, either way,
it's not the wrong word. It just has really negative connotations to it. But I completely understand what you mean. I think the thing is like over thousands of years, we still just haven't worked out a political system that works. It's impossible to know. Like, and I don't know if it is possible to just. Because what you're trying to do is control animals, like we said a minute ago. Like, everyone's animals, and I'm not talking on an emotional sense, but yeah, you're just controlling a load of things that are striving to survive, and some people want to survive more than others, or some people, their standards of what they class as survival is way higher than others. So there's always going to be selfish people. There's always going to be people fighting for more than they need, and. As long as that's the thing, which you can't get rid of because that's just inherently part of it. Like, you know, lions have there'll be a leader of a pack because that leader of a pack is fucking selfish. Like, that's an inherent things that animals have built in them. So you can't get rid of that. So as long as you have that, you will never have a system that works for everyone.
Well, that's why Animal Farm that's why Animal Farm and George Orwell in particular is so prescient. There's always the pigs that wanted more.
Yeah, and I think it's silly to strive for perfection, but it's really important to fight against things that just are there for silly reasons. Like, racism is a thing that exists for very silly reasons, and it just shouldn't exist, and it makes no negative impact for it to be gone. So it should be fucking gone.
Created all of these weird heady places of argument too. Like, suddenly you're like realizing that all these people are getting upset because they feel that their privilege is being challenged. They're going, oh, white privilege doesn't exist. All races are equal, blah, blah. But like, the fact that they have then, that mindset has been able to be cultivated is that they, through no fault of their own, have benefited from a system created to, you know, it's just worked out.
I do apologise for my dog at the moment, sorry.
Don't worry. It's just very complicated, isn't it?
Yeah. Sorry, you're on a roll there, and my dog completely fucked that up.
Well, I mean, the dog. I'm gonna go with the dog's idea because the dog just lives its life and doesn't think about.
Yeah.
I mean,
but the dog has a master giving its food, though.
Yeah. But I think
the dog's fed. It's happy, you know.
But I think what what you're sort of. I completely agree, and I think there's a lot of people out there that are getting defensive, and they're worried that their lifestyle will change. But my head's at well, what logic makes you think your lifestyle will change? Like all these people are fighting for is to be on a level playing field. They're not fighting for you to go down the ladder. And the average person, their lives won't be different at all. And it blows my mind. Like the idea that, like, I'm going to get onto the whole statues thing because I think this is a good this is a really mind-bending thing for me, is that there's a load of people getting really upset that we're defacing statues or memorials or anything like that, especially getting rid of statues that are by previous slave owners. But also there's been retaliations where, like, Gandhi's had slander put all over his statue and shit like that. Like, it's getting mental. And there's two things that blow my mind about that. One, in a practical sense, I understand that statues and memorials, they represent something. Like, I get that, and that's where that has sentimental value for people. But I mean, how many people actually go up to Winston Churchill's statue every day and pray to it, or like leave flowers to it and stuff? You never thought about Winston Churchill's statue until suddenly someone said they're going to get rid of it, and now suddenly you really care. And like, that's one thing for me. Two, the idea of having statues of people in general, I think, is silly, because you just shouldn't have them. I mean, and also, if you're going to make a statue of a human being, you have to understand that that represents the entirety of the human being. So yeah, sure, Churchill was a guy who probably, well, yeah, he helped us win the war. He did a lot of great things for our country. But the statue doesn't just stand for that. The statue also stands for the fact that he caused mass death in India, like, which happened. And you got to understand, yeah, it represents one thing to you, but another person walks past and it represents a different thing to them. It's probably safer to not have it there anyway. You know what I mean? And like, I understand a lot of these statues commemorate people that did amazing things, but you don't need a statue there to still love those things that they did.
And
if there was a statue outside my house for a person who once saved a baby from a fire but also shot my family in the head, I wouldn't want to walk past that every day.
Yeah, completely. And like, but also you just never needed a statue there to begin with. To you, you'll always remember the family that got shot, but to them, they'll remember the baby that got saved, and that's fine. Do you know what I mean? You can keep that memory. You don't need something representing that so that other people have that memory as well. And like, they're not part of history. I never once went to a statue in my history class. You learn history out of books and you learn them from teachers. You don't need a statue there to tell you about history.
And half the people didn't even fucking know what he did, you know?
Yeah, completely. And
they're going, oh, Churchill, that was the one for Thatcher, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I think that's the idea of all of this. It's a lot of people putting a lot of care and attention into things that don't matter, or taking pride in things that have no meaning anyway. And like, a lot of people hating this beautiful thing that's happening, which is a revolution, and it's fighting for stuff, and it should have been done a long time ago, and it has been done before, and it probably will be done again, but it's important shit and people should get behind it. And instead people are worrying about trivial shit. They're worrying, well, yeah, I understand that they're doing a really great thing, but what about my this, or what about my that? And you're like, is your that important, really? Does it change your life? Does it make your life better? What they're fighting for is for a better life. Like, that's a way more important thing.
Did you see that?
And it doesn't impact your life.
yeah, that's the thing. They've never had to think, like, because they don't understand that. Well, it's like a fish doesn't know it's in water, does it? Because it's never known anything different. And they've just been breathing whatever fish do. But there was that, I saw this picture of like a house on fire, and like some guys like, we should put the house fire out, and some other guys like, yeah, but what about the other house? It's like, well, that house isn't on fire right now. It's like, but
exactly,
fire.
It's exactly. And the thing is there's a load of people out there going, like, yeah, you're now finally being told that, yeah, you had a better chance in life if you were white. Like, yeah, you had a higher chance than someone else at getting that job because you were white, and everything like that. And that people feel like they're being attacked. But what you're forgetting is when you were growing up, you believe that you were working hard to get that job. So you weren't thinking about that privilege. You were like, I've deserved this, and I've worked hard, and I've worked that. And that's when all of this hopefully does become equal again, that doesn't change. You know, you still have a white person going to school believing they're going to get their grades, to get their stuff, to then move on. They still work hard for their career. All we're asking is that a black kid goes to school and believes the same thing.
Yeah.
And gets the same access.
Mm-hmm.
It's not suddenly you going, well, now in the future, white kids aren't going to get those jobs. And it's like, no, you always believed that you work hard and you would get that job. And the thing is that's what happened. The problem is black people believe the same thing and then were stopped at gates because it didn't happen for them, even though they worked just as hard, if not harder, because the system was fucking stacked against them.
Yeah. People don't want to really like feel uncomfortable, and I think people need to normalize discomfort.
Yeah,
everyone's trying to run away from stuff, thinking that life is about being happy all the time, but it's not. You know.
No, man. No, and just because it is for you, it's not for so many people out there, man.
Yeah. So we need to encourage people to be empathetic, really, don't they?
Completely.
Just try and be human.
Yeah.
And if you're going to sit here and say that this is actually a white Christian country, then follow the one moral fucking preaching that the Bible has: love thy neighbour as thyself.
Yeah.
There you go.
Isn't it?
Boom! I've solved it.
Oh man,
Jake Hughes, dictator for life.
Mr. Rinky Dink over here.
Oh, you son of a bitch!
All world issues.
Well, that's I think that's what the episode title is going to be. We solved the world.
Yeah. Do you know what? Like, I understand for anybody who does listen to this that you thought you were getting into a nice music chat about the 59 sounds, and then it's gotten very political. But you know what? I think it's been a great discussion, and why not go to these places, man? Because this shit's important, and it's what's going on.
Before we wind it down a little bit, then one thing we haven't touched on.
Yeah.
Favorite track.
Oh right. Oh shit. So this feels really trivial to go back to.
Oh well,
we've got to respect the form.
I'm just going to look at the track list on Spotify now. So right. Oh man, yeah, it's hard. It's very hard. It's a hard one between the Patient Ferris Wheel, Old White Lincoln, and fucking hell. They're all too good. The
whole album is a legitimate answer.
Yeah.
We'll accept that.
The whole damn album, with exception to Miles Davis and the Cool, and even Cowgirls Get the Blues. They're my least favourites, but like,
fair.
I think if I had to choose an absolute fucking favourite, it would be Old White Lincoln. I think.
Yeah.
Old White Lincoln. It's got to be that, because I just remember like, just listening to it for the first time ever. I was walking somewhere, and it was just like, oh my god, I've never heard anything like this. And it's just brilliant, and like, it's great live as well. Really good live. Just so simple, such a simple song.
Yeah.
With
even the bass,
right.
Even the bass line leading it's a simple bass line. It's just
that bass sound is so great. It's like a fucking. You can like see it when you listen to it. You're like, it's like, when a sound becomes like almost a sight. I don't know if you get like, so your senses just blur together.
I think he played it on a precision, if I'm right.
Yeah, it sounds
so
slinky, precision, but tons of guts behind it as well, isn't it? Like
bit of gain on it.
Yeah. And then the trash cans. I didn't realise they were trash cans.
Did you know?
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, because the looks in the liner notes, it was like trash cans, Benny Horowitz, and that I thought it was like kind of really distorted, just muting the strings and go like that on the guitar. But I think it was because I was listening to quite a low res MP3 of the when I was younger, like the and then I listened on vinyl, or like I got a high quality stream online somewhere, and it was like, whoa, he's hitting trash cans. Dig it, that bit.
So I'm gonna go with Connors then. I reckon yours is still gonna be Here's Looking at You, Kid.
Oh no, my friend. No. Although it's probably second favourite on the album. Yeah.
I'm annoyed because that's 2 in a row now I've got wrong on
Well, I do. This is gonna sound stupid, but I think Here's Looking at You, Kid is the best song, but it's not my favourite. Like if I'm sat down, the one I'm most likely gonna listen to, just in most days of my life, like I'll listen to Here's Looking at You, Kid, if I'm in a certain mood. I'll listen to Meet Me by the River's Edge any day because I love that song so much.
Very
and I love the guitar in that song, and the and the way it comes in on the back of the chorus as well. The and it that probably sounded like trash music.
It's cool. I'll put some auto tune on it when we.
yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks. I reckon, Jake, yours is. Okay, so that gives me a higher chance of guessing at least one of them. I think yours is The Patient Ferris Wheel.
Nope.
Damn, is that not either of them?
Nope.
Oh, wow. And then The Backseat?
Nope.
Nah, see?
Yes!
There we go. I've lost.
High Lonesome and Even Cowgirls Get the Blues.
Ah, fair.
They're your favourites?
Yeah,
High Lonesome. That was one that I repeated a lot.
Yeah, High Lonesome's a great tune.
Yeah, I love the middle eight of that song, like the southern accents bit.
Yeah,
it's like like that cuts down to like bass and drums mainly.
Well, something they did with the other songs on the albums, wasn't it? Like they had these sort of middle eights on there at times.
Yeah, they do write a good middle eight actually. Gaslight.
I like their middle eight.
Well, you're not supposed to die on a Saturday night.
Yeah, the Casanova Baby. That's a good one as well. That's one I forget about.
Yeah, the whole album is sick. I the whole album. Like when I say Here's Looking at You, Kid, and Meet Me by the River's Edge, they're like just above for me. The whole album I love to pieces.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it's not as easy to choose the favourites that we have done with the other albums.
Yeah,
and it's not going to be easy on the next episode either.
That's the problem when you love an album so much. It's like, yeah, man.
Who's next? What's your next album you're doing?
Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, yeah,
that's gonna be tough.
That's a difficult one, but
you've got 17 songs to choose from.
Yeah,
and you've got possibly all their most famous singles up until you get to Californication.
I think like I know it's obvious, but Give It Away, like what a song.
Yeah. That's Bear in mind that album's got you've got If You Have to Ask, Breaking the Girl, Suck My Kiss, I Could Have Lied, The Righteous and the Wicked, Give It Away, Under the Bridge. It's a killer album.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
What did you guys notice this with Give It Away, that like it's mastered so much louder than the songs either side of it.
Yeah.
You're listening and then suddenly it's like down boom. I turn down my phone or iPod or whatever.
So it comes in with that snare run.
Ears just burst.
It's awesome.
Great live as well, man.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ, yeah.
Yep. Wish you could have seen.
Pardon?
We saw him.
Oh, sorry. What?
I didn't hear what you said, Jack.
I just wish I could have seen them live around the time of that album.
Right, yeah.
Insane. But
I think that would have been bad because that was when John Frusciante was really struggling with his heroin addiction and when he's getting disenfranchised with it all.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see him now that John Frusciante's back in the band. Because I've seen him twice now, but both times obviously without John Frusciante.
Yeah, with Josh Klinghoffer, who himself isn't bad. He's not John Frusciante. That was his biggest weakness in the band. Was that he wasn't John Frusciante. Everyone wanted John Frusciante because he's a fucking god.
Yeah.
I felt really bad for Josh Klinghoffer when, like, the story about how he found out about.
Yeah.
We've been jamming with John. Was that it? I think.
I think it was they were at.
Just give me a little bit. Sorry, people are trying to talk to me while I'm looking at this. I do apologise, guys.
That's cool. It gives me editing points.
Round off now. I've got to get going for a week.
Yeah, man. Well,
that's cool. We've kept you for a long time, mate.
Yeah, it's been a fucking lovely discussion. We went places, man. We changed the world.
No, we solved the world. We didn't just change it.
But where can people find your music, Jack?
On Bandcamp mainly. That's where I put everything. But then I'm also on Spotify. Some things are on Spotify.
And it's just under Jack Cookson.
Yeah, literally that. Not to be confused with the Manchester Jack Cookson, who makes like trance, but he doesn't anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, fair.
So, is any of your stuff still available to buy?
Yeah, on Bandcamp you can order some physicals. That would be where for lockdown purposes. So yeah, I've got vinyl of an EP on there, and then physicals.
I would suggest people get the vinyl. That's what I have.
Oh yeah, it does sound good on vinyl, I suppose.
I think it's one of two vinyls that I have. I've got a vinyl with the Holy Bible by the Mainstream Preachers, and I've got your vinyl.
There you go, mate.
Seriously though, Jack Cookson is a phenomenal musician. Support his music wherever you can, especially during this fucking time. Help a brother out.
Thank you very much.
And with that, we'll say peace out, monkeys.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Peace out.